Hi, this week I am at the MICPA Advisory Symposium Conference, and it's just been an amazing morning and afternoon of leaders of the profession. And it wasn't just leaders of the profession, it's also the fact that students were here as well and blending the generations. So I wanted to interview not only the CEO of MICPA, but the incoming chair of the board of directors as well, and I'll have each of you introduce yourselves, and then we'll get into it.
Great. I'm Peggy Dzierzawski, President and CEO of the MICPA.
Hi, David Echelbarger, Vice Chair of the MICPA, Chair-elect of the MICPA, and Managing Partner of EHTC CPA firm.
So what were the big takeaways for you? Barry Melanson was here today, the CEO of the AICPA, and we talked a lot about technology transformation. We talked about what the MICPA does for its members, which is a lot. So what do you see happening in the profession, and what are you seeing your members actually challenging themselves with and making an impact?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So there's a couple things that I took away from this conference, specifically Barry's vision to what the future looks like for us, and that we need to be aware of the changes that are coming up, specifically in the area of technology, and then specifically about your conversation with the group about what technologies we could take advantage of today, and what small steps we could take today. And it was amazing the impact that a number of firms have already implemented, and how simple it is for us to take advantage of these changes today.
Yeah.
So that was a big eye opener of what we can do today, not just wait for the future, wait for the industry. It can be today. And secondly, it's that conversation that you talked about, the ability to advise our clients, and that value that we have as advisors, more so than the technicians that we've known to become throughout the years.
Right, going beyond compliance.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, I mean, I think the big thing that I saw, and I was sitting at a table with quite a few CPAs, basically that have had a lot of experience. And Barry got up there and talked about, okay, here's all the changes that are coming. And I think they hung on the word coming.
Right.
And you got up there and said, those changes are here today. And there was some fear at the table. As you were talking, their head was shaking that, oh, it's here. And I better listen. And I think that they were excited. You had an exciting way, but you brought it back home and you said, look, it's not easy. And you told a story, your story, that they could connect with. I think when they look at Barry, which I think they really, Barry inspires them, is that somebody gives all that time and energy and passion. Right, 200 days he travels a year, and I know that that's low, that's being conservative, but to take the time to see what the future's going to hold, but keep everybody excited about it.
Yes.
The students were excited, and so I look at the students as leaders. I really do, because I think they're brave, and I think they appreciate the opportunity to come to the event. They had breakfast with Barry this morning, and they weren't afraid to ask questions, and they weren't afraid to say, look, it's this way now, but I don't think I want to do that. I have too many other things that I could do on my schedule. And Barry brought him back and brought it all together about that CPA credential means something.
Yes.
And it is something that will keep you always ahead, always in charge. You're trusted, and the fact is that you've got some stability and you've got trust, and that is powerful.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, I see Barry a number of times during the year, but every time I get inspired by him, because what's easy is to just go with the flow, and he keeps pushing the envelope.
Always.
And he knows what he's saying is not necessarily popular, like the CPA evolution, and it's necessary, because you have to rip the Band-Aid to really start moving forward, and sometimes you don't know the how, but you know the why. And so the how and the what, all of that will come together, but someone's got to keep pushing us forward so that the CPA brand continues to thrive, and that all the people that have invested their profession, their expertise into this profession still thrive as well.
I think the difference now is they hear it, but what we planned with having you come and talk is how to do it, right? I don't think in all these years we've ever had so many people in a session right after the major symposium to hear you again. And no one left. They didn't even get up to get coffee. And I a lot of head shaking, and you really explained it step by step. Caring about what you do, working with people. I think it was probably one of our best symposiums. I've been told that all the way up here. And,
That's awesome.
And I think it has to do because both you and Barry are so passionate about what you do. And I think it's important that we, as state societies, bring to our leaders the best people to really share their vision and share their expertise, and sometimes give them the warning of, look, this could happen if you don't do this.
Right.
And that's where I think that's a tough one, but Barry does a good job in delivering that.
Totally. So I'd like to bring that back to you. So Peggy has announced her retirement. She's been with the MICPA for 45 years and the CEO for 22. And we've sat at dinner talking about her story, and as a woman CPA, I have sat listening to her story just in awe of the times that you came up through this profession, especially leading an organization like this, and the example that you give to other women in the profession that these things are possible, and that she's in her 45th year still acting like she just got the job. So I would like to just hear a little bit about your perception of women in this profession and diversity in general, because it is such a big issue, and what you're seeing with it and how it's changed or not changed in the time that you've been part of this profession.
Well, I never ever felt like I had a glass ceiling, ever. I felt like people, and this happens to be David's father, who was a CPA and a past chair in the early years of MICPA, but people who believed in me. You know, I was there, and I know that sometimes they looked at me as the kid, and they looked at the fact that, you know, in the big states, there's no women running any organization. But I always had the passion, and when somebody tells you you can't do something, well, that you just gave me a lot of energy to go forward. But I think people believing in me, and I think that I would sit in a room, and we had a new tax law go through. It was a sea of men. I was married, so that wasn't a big deal for me, but I have to tell you, I knew that the profession was in trouble, because how could you serve the client? What would happen? Someday there's going to be somebody owning a company, which I have to tell you is wonderful to see now, women owning companies and women becoming CEOs. But I think when you have people who believe in you, and we always had the leaders who had that great vision, and they were willing to trust me, and they were willing to, I think, give me the opportunity to maybe even make mistakes so that I knew what to do next time. There was no role to follow. There was, just work really hard, but I think take time to listen and understand who your members are. And when you do that, the relationships you build are incredible, because we're all there for the same reason. And that's to learn and service the client, and make sure that we follow the CPE rules, and make sure that we're taking care of them.
Right.
But I think I sat at a table today at lunch with women, and I said to them, I know I'm telling stories like, you walk up the hill and so high and all that, but I said, I have to tell you, when I started, women did not go out on accounts. They were told they couldn't. They were told the client wouldn't allow it. And I will tell you, some of the very first women in the profession, they were brilliant women.
Yes.
And they couldn't go out. I remember Professor Payton, who was really big in Michigan, and University of Michigan, and he wrote a lot of the textbooks, and we named the Payton Award after him. And when a woman won, he was shocked. You know, it was like, wow, you know, and then it happened again and again, and I was privileged to see this happen in real life.
Right.
And now I look out and 56% of the students are women. That's just amazing. Now, our job will be to show
Keep
them
in the
the
profession.
opportunities,
Yes.
show them the excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Women are great at this job, and they're great making relationships, they're great understanding the needs of being able to work and have a family, and they're challenged in some ways, I think, as they go up the ladder, but I think the firms, we've talked, you've really knocked yourself out to make sure that there's a place, right? I mean, you've worked hard at that.
I've worked hard at that, and I think one of the things that when I see Peggy, I don't think of Peggy as a woman in this role. I think of Peggy as this great leader who wants to make a difference in everything that she does, and that's what drives Peggy. And when Peggy says, I want to make a difference, and that could be for people like myself, where she believed in me that I could do extremely well in this role as the chair of the board, to be a board member. And I think that's what has made Peggy unique in such a way that she brought something to the profession that others haven't brought to the profession. And it's phenomenal what she's done because of that. And then she creates this environment where she calls it the Michigan Association family.
Yes.
And people keep giving back because of that. And it's that environment that Peggy's created. And again, I don't look at Peggy as a woman that has had any challenges. I just look at Peggy as a great leader that's had a vision, that's been able to execute because she wanted to make a difference. And she's made a difference for myself. She's made a difference for many people. And then they keep giving back because of what you've done for us.
Again, that's so nice, but no one does it alone. I had a lot of people believe in me, terrific staff that, you know, I count on, and that is an MICPA family, and I think, you know, all these years, that's the toughest thing, to, you know, end up retiring and walking away from a family.
Right.
But at the same time, I know they're gonna do great, right?
Yeah.
I know it. I just, in my heart, I'm gonna miss everyone, but at the same time, what I've been able to see, I am so blessed. I mean, somebody said to me in the lunchroom today, how could you work someplace for 45 years? I said, well, because every day was a challenge. And every day I walked in was not the day I thought it was gonna be. And, you know, I never looked at it as work. When you love something that you do, it's not work. I mean, there's always gonna be the tough days and the good days, but when you sit back and you see these young emerging leaders who are now serving on boards and they're partners in companies, and they believe in what they do, and they go back to saying, oh, well, I learned that at high school leaders. Hey, it makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it? But with you being up there today, the expectations were high. You didn't have to prove anything. You were good. It came in that you were spectacular. I couldn't believe that you talk on so many different topics and still can get everybody there. Your stories, amazing. Absolutely amazing, and I think you bring people into it. But it does show that together, men and women can make this state, and I'm going to even say globally, stronger.
Yes.
And I think, I tell young women, listen, don't let anybody tell you you can't do something.
Right.
If you don't want to do it, that's okay. But if you want to do it, you know, with a way of reaching out and making sure that you do it the right way, and that you have support and you have people who trust you, then do it.
Right.
But you're not always going to be right.
Yes.
You said that today, and I want to stand up and applaud, because I tell our staff all the time, look it, if you don't make mistakes, I don't think you're taking risks. You're not learning, and you're not always going to be right. But I think the leadership part of it is to sit back and go, I bet there's another right answer.
Yes.
Okay, this one didn't work, but there is another right answer.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you talked about today, having that respect for your colleagues, take it back to the firm, having respect for the clients.
Right.
You don't always have to be right. One thing I will share is that when I work with a board or I work with a committee, kind of know where I'd like them to go, but I make it your idea. And you put your own enhancements on it. So together we own it, and it can't go wrong because we both feel so good about it. It's just part of who we are, right? Our building, our move. There's a footprint from the staff, but there's definitely a footprint from the board.
Mm-hmm.
So that's their home. That's going to be their brand.
And I think that's such an important leadership lesson. Whether you're a man or a woman, so many people feel like they have to do it alone. And when you can show you're more vulnerable and compassionate for what everybody else's needs are, you end up accomplishing so much more. And you know, it's been said over and over again, like, because you're putting yourself out there, like, I don't know where, like, we're entering new ground, and I'm on this journey with you, and I'm here to support, you know, our success going forward. And I think it's really important that, you know, this isn't a trend. You've been doing this for 45 years. This is a mark of great leadership. And you know, it means so much that you've been a woman going through this, but also I think everyone can learn from a compassionate, nurturing leader of what that does to change a business. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you
She's
as
wonderful,
well.
right?
Yeah.
You came to Michigan.
Yeah,
So.
it's been great to be here.
It's interesting because Peggy said that she's retiring, but as we know, being part of the MICPA, we never leave the MICPA. As I looked around the room today, all the people that Peggy's had supporting her in all of these decisions, they're still there. They're still in support of the organization of Peggy. And so she will never, her legacy is there, you can't change that, and she will be there with us forever as part of the family. So
You'll always be in my heart, and you did a great job today.
Well,
Barry did a great job, and I think
Yes.
we're very fortunate to have both of them come and talk to our leaders. So thank you for being here
Thank
today.
you. Thank you.
Wonderful job today.
Thank you.
Thanks.